Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2 of the First Punic War by Oversimplified. Part 1 went over like incredibly well. I think it's the third most viewed video on this channel already, and it hasn't even been out for 24 hours as of the time I'm recording this. It's got like 4K views, something insane like that. My YouTube stats look ridiculous now because like the second most viewed in this period is another Oversimplified one, which got like 500. So yeah, this one's going to skew up my statistics for the next 10 videos. Anyways, the last time that we left off, the battle in the Mediterranean had taken place, one of the possibly the largest naval battles. I read some comments, probably not. I think Kanet, you mentioned that one. If you're watching this video again, shout out to you. Probably not the largest, however, because there were so many Romans on the ships, right? The manpower total increased. Other than that, let's see what's going to happen. They're about to land in actual Africa. And yeah, let's see how the Romans eventually defeat Carthage in the first Punic War. Remember, if you haven't already, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. On the road to 1,000 subscribers, it all helps. Thanks, guys.
After the gigantic battle at Cape Ecnomus, the Romans were now free to land on African soil. And so, they did. The Carthaginians chose to focus on defending the city of Carthage itself. So the Romans immediately took the city of Aspis and were then free to raid and plunder the countryside. They took over 20,000 slaves and a ton of booty. But then, some orders arrived from the Senate. Send home the booty.
Oh, but I want to stay.
No, Steve, not you. They mean the treasure. Well, we are not watching any more of this filth. So the other...
Actually, yeah, so like, okay, I graduated primary school in, or at least in Canada, it's called primary school, in 2008. And I graduated high school in 2013. Yeah, 2013, 2020? Yeah, 2013. 2012, I was going into grade, no, 2012. Yeah, 2013, good. I had to figure it out there. Do they show YouTube videos now, like, in school? Because I don't think I ever watched maybe 1 or 2 YouTube videos in high school or elementary school, but I guess that Oversimplified is like shown in schools, and like history of the world and history of the United States. Okay, maybe this is like a total boomer moment. I mean, I'm 26, so not really, but that's such a weird thing to think of as Oversimplified videos being shown in school. But hey, if you're younger, you're in high school, or you know, just a few years ago you were in high school, comment below. I'm actually super curious if they show his videos in high school.
The consul left with the booty, leaving Regulus and his forces on their own, and they began advancing towards Carthage. Along the way, according to the ancient writer Livy, they encountered a literal dragon. Now, Livy was a Roman historian, so his account may be slightly exaggerated.
Definitely.
But this,
Wait, I wanted to read that text. Hold on. wait. Let me try and get that.
Was a Roman historian, so his account may be slightly exaggerated, but
it's also possibly... Okay, here, I'll read it for you guys. It's also possibly a translation issue. Perhaps the Bagradas dragon was really just a big snake. Then again, maybe it never happened at all. A lot of ancient history is disputed like that. But hey, since you took the time to pause this video and read this, hey, I did. I just want to let you know that you're real swell, and I'm sorry I told you to shut up in part 1. I swear I didn't mean it. How nice of Oversimplified. How nice of him. There you go. See, this is the little bonuses you get when you watch these videos.
But this, I believe. As the Romans continued to plunder, the Carthaginian people flooded into the city. Now,
causing
not
more
only was it in a major
infrastructure
panic,
issues,
but it was so crowded, the people began to starve. Don't panic, everyone! Look, I know you're all starving, but I still have food for me. So, you know, it's not all bad.
This guy's gonna be crucified, isn't he?
Your tomatoes, and you idiots wonder why you're starving? Oh well, it's just more food for me.
Things weren't looking
The animation's
good for
gotten so much
Carthage.
better too.
They had to do something to stop the Romans rampaging throughout their land. So they decided, finally, it was time to put an end to it. They headed out and set up on rough hilly terrain overlooking the Roman camp, and they prepared for battle. Now, while the Carthaginians were the traditional masters of the sea, on land, they weren't always the brightest. Case in point, setting up in this position overlooking the Roman camp was just about the stupidest thing they could have done. Why? Well, there's something you gotta understand about Carthage.
Okay.
The Carthaginian land forces actually suffered from a multitude of different issues. First of all, since the Carthaginians were rich, they could afford to pay a huge number of foreign mercenaries to fight.
Interesting. So Balearic, Numidian, Gaelic, really? From modern England or modern UK? Sorry, don't mean to offend there. Modern UK? Fascinating, huh?
For them.
I guess I would have language issues then,
actually
no?
made up the vast majority of Carthage's forces, and
Yeah.
therefore, Carthage's land armies were a melting pot of many different cultures.
This really reminds me of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and this was a big issue in World War One, where, just to jump forward about 2,000 years or so, in World War One, a big issue with the Austro-Hungarian Empire was this exact issue of having a melting pot of different nationalities, ethnicities, and everything. Well, you know what I mean, right? So with Czechs, right, Hungarians, Poles, or what we would modernly consider Poles, Austrians, even some Germans, right, Slovaks, the whole, even Serbs, right, and other people. This whole sort of melting pot with the army led to massive communication issues, where all the officers were expected to know German, right, even if they were a Czech or a Slovak or a Hungarian. But the troops were not privy to having the same standard language as they had, for example, in Germany, in France, in England, in even Russia, etc. So, yeah, that's this funny again how you can see the parallels between something that's more modern, right, in the melting pot army of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and then the melting pot army we see here of Carthage. So, yeah, hoping that wasn't too long of a detour, but just something I found interesting.
This, however, meant that if a battle wasn't going their way, there could be loyalty issues. Man, I ain't getting paid enough for this. You Balearic slingers better not be thinking of running away. What did he say? I don't know, man. I don't speak Phoenician. Let's get out of here.
Same thing, right? When you have loyalty questions, right? If the Hungarians were if the Hungarians were loyal to the Austro-Hungarian crown, etc., etc., etc.
Clearly, there were also language issues. The military generals tended to be Carthaginian, but they made a lot of strange decisions. For example, one of the most feared assets of the Carthaginian army were the war elephants. To a Roman soldier who had never even seen an elephant before, this was like fist fighting, a literal monster. Yet the Carthaginians continually kept placing the elephants in the rear, where they were no use. In a similar fashion, the neighboring region of Numidia provided Carthage with the most skilled cavalrymen in the world. But the Carthaginians often chose to fight on rough, uneven terrain.
Great for horses.
And elephants were less effective. And so, in this case, when the Carthaginians again chose the rough terrain near the Roman camp, the Romans easily sent them packing.
Yep.
Wow, Regulus. We're mere miles from Carthage. You sure are amazing. Yes?
What measurement unit did the Romans use? Probably not miles. Let me know in the comments below. That's what I'm kind of curious about.
Steve, I know.
Like, would the the people from Carthage have a different system of measurement from the Romans? How did ancient measurement systems work? Maybe this is a History Matters video. We'll find out.
Steve, what's the matter? We've almost won. I just wish I could be as great as you, Regulus. Steve, you're amazing. I mean, look at this thing. It's unbelievable. I know, but I mean like at war stuff. I'm such a noob. My tanks always get blown up. I can't even fly an aircraft straight. Tanks? Aircraft?
Is this a
What are you talking
Hoi4 ad?
about, Steve? I'm talking about free-to-play online multiplayer combat game, and this video's sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game.
Nice. All right, so yep, that's War Thunder. It's a pretty decent game. I've played it before. You can play for free. It's kind of pay to winish. You should play Hoi4 instead. Hoi4 is a much better game. Just saying. I may or may not be a Hoi4 streamer too, so a bit of
Now,
bias
where
there.
were we?
But
Oh yeah. Invading Africa, getting some booty, and sending the Carthaginians packing. Everything was looking up for Regulus. A Roman victory seemed like it was only a matter of time. But then, Regulus realized something. He had been consul for almost a year, and his term was coming to an end. He knew that if his successor took over and he finished the job, then he would get the naked statues. not Regulus.
Yep, so he's
And
gonna be
there was
extra
no way
aggressive.
Regulus was going to allow that. So he jumped the gun. You there, Carthaginian boy. I want you to deliver a message to your elders. I, Marcus Attilius Regulus, demand the total and unconditional surrender of Carthage. Unconditional surrender?
How did he understand
At
him,
least
though?
lay siege and starve us all to death first. Just deliver the message, you punk! He demands your total surrender. What? Jeez, at least lay siege and starve us all to death first. Hey, that's what I said. Well, boys, this Roman thinks we're out. But we're not out, are we, boys? No! We'll do what we always do in times like this. Hire somebody else to solve our problems for us. Darren, bring in the Spartan.
This works with a lot of consulting companies too.
Regulus's overly harsh demands had the unintended effect of reinvigorating Carthaginian resolve. They brought in a mercenary from the famed land of Sparta named
Fascinating,
Xanthippus
really?
to help dig them out of this situation. And we all know what Spartans are like.
Yes, of course.
Xanthippus showed up and immediately took charge. He had a look around and said, "You idiots! Put the elephants in front of the army so they can smash into the Romans. And stop fighting on rough, uneven terrain. Find a big flat field so your superior cavalry can do their job. And what's this I hear about you giving a speech telling everyone they're gonna die? Hey, I was just telling the people the truth. You're a politician. Lie to the people."
And that
so
was the invention of
Xanthippus led out
politics.
the newly reformed Carthaginian army to meet Regulus in the Battle of the Bagridas River. The elephants, now in the front, smashed into the Roman lines, causing disarray. The cavalry, with total freedom of movement, outflanked the Roman infantry. Thanks to this impressive Spartan, the battle was a total Carthaginian victory. And Xanthippus,
Nice.
for his stunning victory, was forced to flee Carthage because the leadership got jealous. Regulus,
No.
the Roman consul, was captured during
my
the battle.
God.
Legend has it, he was brought before the Carthaginian council, and they made a proposition.
Okay.
Well, Reggie, not looking so good anymore, is it? Looks like we...
It's funny how, like, again, just drawing parallels, like, when someone does something successfully, the existing leadership will then be won't trust them because they feel like they're being replaced in their work. Like, I've seen that in my personal life, in my professional life. Humans never change. Humans never change.
Beat you pretty bad, huh? Up yours, you Punic pansies! Now, Regulus. Nobody likes a sore loser, do they? No.
How do they
about
understand
this?
each other? I
We're gonna
still wanna know
send you
that
back
question.
to Rome, and you convince the Roman Senate to surrender to us. If you fail, though, you gotta come back so we can torture you to death. Okay? Okay. You promise? I promise. Hey guys. Whoa, Regulus! We thought you got captured. I did, but they sent me back to convince you to surrender. Well, should we? Surrender? No! Never surrender! Give 'em hell, boys. They're at the end of their rope. Anyway, I gotta go be tortured to death now. What? Yep, part of a deal I made. It's a long story. Oh, hey, wait! Regulus! No, it's cool, guys. I promised. Regulus! This is ancient times. We massacre entire populations. We chop pets in half. You can break a promise. No, Tim! You never break a promise. That's too far. And so, Regulus went back to Carthage and was tortured to death. And for keeping his promise, he was immortalized as the leading symbol of Roman virtue.
Ancient people were built different.
Meanwhile,
I mean, hey, he kept his word.
after their defeat in Africa, the remaining Roman survivors, still in Africa, were still in Africa, and they needed to be rescued. So the Romans sent their fleet to pick him up and bring him home. They successfully fended off a Carthaginian fleet, grabbed the survivors, and made their way to Sicily. A great success. But then, things took a turn for the worse. Sir? That cloud looks kind of angry. Fear not, coward. If we Romans can build a war fleet from scratch and defeat the Carthaginian Empire at their own game, why, then even Mother Nature herself will crumble before us. I laugh in the face of Mother Nature. Ha ha! See? Come on, guys. Laugh at Mother Nature with me.
Ha ha!
284
Just amazing
ships,
animation.
nearly 80% of the Roman fleet was destroyed. As many as 100,000 men drowned in a terrifying act of nature.
Oh my god. Wow. Okay, the Carthaginians... I'm never going to get that right. The people from Carthage definitely thought that was an act of God.
Never before had Rome lost so many men
Wow,
in a single incident.
100,000. A town wiped out. 284 ships. 80 wow, you can only imagine the production. How did they win this war?
100,000
We're gonna find out in the next
casualties for
10
any
minutes.
other nation
11 minutes,
would be
sorry.
crippling. Any other nation would hastily sue for peace. Any other nation would spend decades trying to recover. But Rome was not just any other nation. Infamous for its unrelenting determination in the face of overwhelming odds, Rome said, well, I guess we'll just have to build another fleet. And they did. In just 3 months, they built 220
Wow.
more ships. An astonishing feat. The Romans sent out their brand spanking new war fleet. And
No, come on.
they got caught in another storm.
No.
This time, a whole nother fleet was lost. And still, the Romans did not give up. The Carthaginians couldn't believe it. Their enemy had just lost hundreds of thousands of men, had 2 fleets almost entirely destroyed, and they still wouldn't surrender. As one Roman poet put it, the victor is not victorious if the vanquished does not consider himself so.
You gotta almost... I don't know if the word is appreciate. Look at that resolve, though. Look at that Roman resolve. I mean, I know it's oversimplified, so there's obviously more details to it, but wow.
In typical Roman fashion, after a short break, they were once
Crazy.
again
Absolutely
building
insane.
another fleet. However,
So they
for
built
now,
4
after all
fleets
the
at this point.
disasters at sea, the focus began shifting back to the land campaign in Sicily. The Carthaginians, overconfident from recent successes,
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
attempted to retake Panormus, but the Romans countered the terrifying war elephants by throwing stuff at them and scaring them away. Having stopped the Carthaginian advance, the road was now open to the final Carthaginian stronghold on the island, Lilybaeum. Lilybaeum was an extremely well-fortified city. In 250 BC, the Romans laid siege.
Have I
The
heard of that
Carthaginian
before?
defense, however, was fierce, and skilled blockade runners kept the city supplied. Progress was so slow that the siege would last another 9 years.
9
To make matters
years.
worse, the Carthaginians later sent possibly the greatest military general of the time, a man named Hamilcar Barca, to the island. He engaged in a skillful campaign of guerrilla warfare behind enemy lines, and for the remainder of the war, he was a major thorn in the Roman side. For now, with the deadlocked siege at Lilybaeum and the new Roman fleet at sea, things seem to be at a standstill, and the Romans had to do something to break the deadlock. Thankfully, the Roman consul, Clodius Pulcher, had an idea. He tried to get things moving by attacking the Carthaginian fleet at Trapana. Now, before a battle, to predict if they would win, it was common for the Romans to look for signs from the gods. This could mean observing the weather or inspecting some cow livers. You know, typical religion stuff. In this case, Pulcher reportedly tried to feed some sacred chickens, but unfortunately for him, they wouldn't eat a crumb. A very bad sign. Well,
Oh, what happened with the 2 storms that they they didn't successfully predict in that one?
he said,
If they won't eat, then let them drink! Stupid chickens! We'll observe the weather instead. Gods, give me a sign. Ignore that.
okay, how about this? If I can get this piece of paper into that trash basket, we'll win.
Okay, if I can stand here silently for 5 seconds and do nothing, we'll win. Dammit!
Pulcher chose to ignore the signs from the gods, and in the following battle, the superior Carthaginians tore them to shreds. It also didn't help that by now the Romans had removed the corvus to stabilize their ships, and without their secret weapon, it was a disaster, and Pulcher was disgraced. To make matters worse, the victorious Carthaginian fleet then went on to intercept a Roman supply fleet on its way to Lilybaeum. As they approached, however, they saw the signs of an incoming storm, so they took shelter. The Romans, on the other hand, said, "Onward, men! Set sail! We've got to deliver these supplies stat!" But sir, those clouds, don't you think we ought to have learned our lesson by now?
Yes, Brian, we ought to have. But we haven't.
Another fleet and 50,000 men lost in another storm. Disaster. Now, at this point,
And I guess that's the negative side of the of the resolve, the Roman resolve of just pushing forward no matter what. Yeah.
there still really isn't a clear winner. Sure, the Romans have captured most of Sicily
Right.
and cornered the Carthaginian land forces at Lilybaeum, but the continued disasters at sea were critically depleting their resources, and without a strong fleet, Rome could not win. Meanwhile, Hamilcar Barca was still knocking about and creating even more problems. So, where do we go from here? How does this war finally end? By now, the two sides had been fighting for 23 years.
23.
They were exhausted.
Oh my god. So almost my entire life these two civilizations have been fighting. Nearly my entire life they've been at war. God, the resources that could have been spent on other things.
Their money, their resources,
Yeah.
their strength
Yeah.
were all utterly spent. The Carthaginians in particular were eager to see the war end so they could get back to trading and making money. So after the latest Roman disaster at sea, they said, "Look, there ain't no way in heck the Romans can come back again. They can't possibly afford to build another fleet.
Yeah, they're gonna
They're
build another
done.
fleet.
That's it. Recall the Navy, repurpose them as merchant ships, and let's get back to making some money." Assuming the Romans would soon make peace, an anti-war faction within the government recalled a large portion of the navy, leaving Hamilcar on his own. The victors appeared to be declaring themselves victorious. Meanwhile, the vanquished were getting ready for round 5. The Romans built another fleet, this time heavily relying on patriotic donations from the upper classes to afford it. And once again, they put to sea. Sir? The Romans have built another fleet. Oh, for goodness sake, Clarence, can't you see I'm busy rolling around in this pile of money? But sir,
I don't care anymore, Clarence. I just don't care.
the Carthaginian politicians made a fairly lackluster final effort with a poorly built fleet to supply their forces in Sicily. But when the brand new Roman fleet caught them at the Battle of the Aegates, even without their signature corvus, they dealt them the final blow. And that was that. 23 years of war. Neither side could afford to keep fighting, but the Romans showed that they intended to anyway. The Carthaginians had no choice but to throw in the towel. The war had been long and hard for both sides, but in the end, it was Roman determination that won
Really,
the fight.
just outstanding determination too.
The Romans had spent the entire war trying to find a way to deliver the knockout blow. They learned how to build a fleet and engage in naval combat.
And hence make
They
them
developed
more
ingenious
powerful.
new ways of waging war.
Yeah.
They attempted an invasion of the Carthaginian heartland, and whenever disasters struck them, they always came back, again and again. The Carthaginians, on the other hand, spent the entire war watching whatever Rome did, and then figuring out how to respond. They were much more passive, and so, it's no wonder then that when both sides were close to collapse, Rome was the one who figured out how to go that little bit further.
Yep.
In 241 BC, the Carthaginian politicians sent word to Hamilcar Barca that he was on his own and could choose to make peace with the Romans if he wished. Hamilcar was stunned. He felt betrayed by the politicians.
Yeah, of course.
Some sources say he refused to even negotiate. Nevertheless, terms had to be drawn up. Well, Hammy, I'm glad you Carthaginians have finally come to your senses and recognized who the true winner is. How many fleets did you lose? Okay, here are our terms. You leave Sicily to us and return all of our prisoners. You're not allowed to make war against Syracuse or her allies, and you have to pay us 2,200 talents of silver over the next 20 years.
What is 2,200 talents of silver? How much is that? I'm very curious. If you could let me know in the comments.
talent of silver. Well,
Okay,
to put it
never
in
mind.
perspective, in the year 2022, that'll be worth around, let's say, 40 million US dollars.
Ay caramba! That will cripple us.
Wow, we got a real smart guy over here. Yeah, that's kind of the point, you dingus. Ugh, I guess I have no choice. I accept.
Great.
Oh, by the way, we changed our minds. You actually have to pay us 3,200 talents of silver over 10 years.
10 years,
Thanks
yeah.
for accepting.
Dude!
See you later.
Hey! You didn't let me say uncool! You didn't let me say uncool!
The treaty was extremely punishing, and by switching up the
Brutal.
terms at the last minute, they enraged the Carthaginians. But still, one of the longest and deadliest wars at the time was finally over.
A lot,
The
yeah.
Romans had won. They achieved their aim of gaining Sicily. And even though it wasn't part of the peace deal, they took advantage of a weakened Carthage and grabbed Corsica and Sardinia as well.
Ooh.
Roman expansion beyond the Italian peninsula had just begun. The Romans hoped that now the Carthaginians would forever be under their thumb. Unfortunately, the harsh terms they placed on the Carthaginians at the end of the war left a growing anger. One that would come back to haunt them. One day, Carthage will have its revenge. That's
Second
nice, dear.
Punic War.
I'm serious, woman. Maybe not in my lifetime, but perhaps in his. My beautiful son. You are born into a momentous destiny. You shall be Rome's greatest enemy. You'll tear Rome limb from limb. You'll burn their pathetic city into the ground. You'll
Hannibal?
slaughter their people, men, women, and children. My child, you are vengeance. Stop telling our baby he's vengeance. But he is, Barbara. He's vengeance. That may be so someday, but for now, our son has a name, and you should call him that instead.
It's Hannibal,
His
right?
name is...
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Ah, that was good. Oh, no way. He's actually going to do it.
Don't
Huh.
forget to play...
He's actually going to do a Second Punic War. All right, well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I'll check in a year or so and do the next oversimplified video. Looks like it'll be the Second Punic War. I'm still waiting for the Vietnam War one. I think that was in the Cold War video. It said oversimplified, the Vietnam War coming soon. I really wish he did that one. Anyways, hope you enjoyed that one. That was really, really, really interesting. I guess if Oversimplified is doing the Second Punic War, we'll wait for that. But if not, I think I would like to do a video on the Second Punic War. We'll see. If you have any recommendations on a really good one on YouTube that I can react to, put it in the comments below. And yeah, another great video from Oversimplified. The animation has just gotten so much better, and yeah, I can see why these videos are huge hits and why they're just incredible. So thank you very much for joining me. If you like what you saw, I've reacted to a bunch of other Oversimplified videos. I'll put a playlist in the top right here. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Take care, and I will see you guys in the next video.